What is your name?
Joan Louise Virginia Mertzloff Shifley McCarthy.
Where were you born?
I was born in Buffalo, New York.
What would you consider your hometown?
I would consider my hometown to be Lancaster, New York. I lived there till I was 24 years old.
What is the name of your parents?
My mother's name is Edith Adeline Mertzloff Shifley, and my father's name is Carlton Franklin
Where
Shifley.
did you go to school?
I went to St. Mary's Grade School, and then I went to St. Mary's Diocesan High School.
What did you do for a living?
I worked at Liberty National Bank for several years, and then I went over to Buffalo Savings Bank. And then once I got married, we went out to San Francisco, and I worked for Wells Fargo Bank in the International Division, and that was rather exciting. I worked in the financial district, and I worked at the Crown Zellerbach office. It was circular, and it was all in glass. It was very modern at the time. This was 1966. And then after I started my family, then we got back to Buffalo, and then we went to Clifton Park. Lived in Clifton Park for 40 years, but I when my twins got to be juniors in high school, I decided I didn't have too much. I had too much free time, so I went into real estate, and I was in real estate for 28 years. It was really a great career for me.
Did you have children, and if so, how many children did you have?
I had 5 pregnancies, and I had 6 children. I had twins the last two. I had Bevan, my oldest, was born in 1966, and then there was Megan in 67, Patrick, Neil, and then the twins were born in 1974, Allison and Brendan.
What was your childhood like?
Oh, gee, I had a great childhood. We just had no worries. We had no worries about drugs or alcohol. I never drank till I was 18, not 19 probably. I used to ride my bike. We used to swing on vines, play tennis, go ice skating. I lived in a little village and we could walk to every place. It was just a really great time. And I went to a great high school. I played all kind of sports. It was just really fun. And
Um,
my parents were great.
how do you think life has changed since you were 14 or 15 years old?
I think it's changed dramatically in that with the cell phones and everything, kids are so involved in all this, they don't even talk to one another. We always used to go, Clara, come out and play with me. We just ride our bikes and yell. Because we had a party lines I was a kid. There were 4 different families on our telephone, and we used to pick up and listen to see what the other people were saying. My mother would get so mad at us. Anyways, we the kids today, they're so involved in all this. You have to have all the right clothes, and it's ridiculous. I
What
used to wear kid sneakers. They were like $3. Now you wear sneakers that are under 25.
what do you remember most about the 20th century?
The 20th century. Oh, there's so much, so much. Oh, let's see. Oh, well, when we were first married, we went out to San Francisco, and it was Haight Ashbury's. It was in the '60s, and that was a fun time. Of course, I was married, and I started my family out there, but we still went into Haight Ashbury and saw all the hippies and the crazies, and the Vietnam protests and all that kind of stuff. And then we went to Washington D.C. and then back to Buffalo, and then to Dunkirk, New York, and then finally to Albany. I was in Clifton Park for 40 years.
Um,
And now we're in Delmar. Delmar, in our little ranch, and I love it. It's a tiny little ranch. It's perfect.
um, what do you remember most about the Vietnam War and the Vietnam protests? And like, where did you live at the time? Do you think that had anything to do with what you
I
experienced?
lived in Buffalo, New York. I lived 2 blocks from University of Buffalo, and they were protesting like crazy. And I remember specifically one afternoon I had a bunch of my friends from high school over to my home with their children, and they could hardly get out of my driveway because they were protesting all over the place. It's sort of scary.
Were there any other protests that you like experienced or?
Not only in San Francisco,
Yeah.
but nothing else, that I was directly involved in or that I was near. But you'd see it on TV. Everything. It was terrible because I felt sorry for the young people, the one people that didn't want to go fight in that war.
Did you know anyone that had to go fight in the war?
No, but I knew some people that got married just so they wouldn't have to go to the war. And come to find out, they're still married.
Yeah.
So if that goes to show you, you don't have to live with somebody before you get married.
What do you remember about JFK's assassination?
I remember I was on the second floor of Liberty National Bank and I was taking money. I wasn't a teller, but I would work in the loan department and people would bring in their money. And somebody turned on or had the radio on or something and they say JFK was assassinated. I couldn't believe it. And it was so sad. So sad. Because I remember one time the politicians went through our town and I think it was JFK. I was so close to him. I touched him. I was on top of a table, standing on top of a table, and I touched him. It was wonderful.
Do you remember when Harvey Oswald was assassinated or was killed?
Mm-hmm. I saw it on
Yeah.
on TV.
Yeah. What did you think when it happened?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I thought it had to be a setup or something. He couldn't be acting alone, but I guess I'm proven wrong.
Did you think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only person that assassinated JFK, or do you think there were more people?
I thought there were more people, but I guess I was proven wrong because that report came out and said he acted alone. So who am I? I'm not the FBI.
Yeah. What do you remember about the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King Jr.?
Oh, that was terrible. I really didn't know. I knew a couple of black people I worked with at Buffalo Savings Bank, but I really didn't know that many black people. But I never thought they were different from me. I always accepted them, and they were equal to me. I couldn't understand why these people just couldn't get along with the black people, and the protests in the colleges and how they were so destructive. Even today, people are so destructive. They don't respect one another.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated or killed?
I remember that.
What?
All the storefronts, all the glass was broken. That was terrible. And the fires and the turning over cars, and I could see where they would get mad, but whatever.
What do you remember about the first man on the moon?
Oh, it was a glorious time. Cape Canaveral. I always wanted to go to Cape Canaveral. We almost went this year. I guess if you go, you just have to spend a whole day there because it's so interesting. But we went to the Air and Space Museum at the Smithsonian Institute, and we saw, his space outfit, and you could touch it, and the guy was explaining everything, and it was something unreal, to put a man on the moon. That was something. We've come a long way.
Thank you for talking with me this afternoon.